Little is left of the Sukhoi Superjet 100. A look at the aircraft's charred carcass makes it hard to believe any of the 78 passengers on Flight 1492 made it out alive. 41 people died in the fire that engulfed the plane after a violent emergency landing at Moscow Sheremetyevo airport. Some passengers documented the dramatic touchdown and the panic that broke out on board when the flames started to close in. As many survivors remain hospitalized, the reason for the disaster is still unclear.
A criminal case was initiated regarding the emergency landing of the aircraft at Sheremetyevo airport. The Sheremetyevo State Commission of Inquiry into Emergency Situations, spearheaded by the Minister of Transport, is working at the airport.
National authorities have started inspecting the wreckage for clues. The crew issued a distress signal shortly after takeoff. The pilot survived the crash and says lightning forced him to initiate the fatal emergency landing. But bad weather isn't the only factor investigators are focusing on. After recovering the aircraft's 2 flight recorders, human error and technical malfunction are still being seen as possible causes for Aeroflot's deadliest accident in over a decade.
For the very latest, now joining me is our correspondent Emily Sherwin from our Moscow bureau. Emily, an investigation into the crash has started, but are there any initial thoughts on what caused the accident?
Well, the Russian Investigative Committee has laid out what it thinks could be some possible reasons for the accident, though they are still quite broad at the moment. They've said that it could be that the pilots or the air traffic controllers or the technicians who checked the plane before it took off may not have been qualified enough. They also cite the possibility that the plane could have been defective or that there could have been bad weather. There have been reports that the plane may have been hit by lightning while it was in the air. Now, the investigative committee says that it is currently investigating several black boxes, as well as audio recordings from the plane and CCTV. So we'll have to wait and see whether one of those versions comes out as the dominant one.
Now, those pictures of that plane in flames are hugely shocking. What has been the reaction there among people to this accident?
Well, there absolutely has been huge shock to this accident with so many victims. President Vladimir Putin has expressed his condolences and has called for a meticulous investigation into the accident. The families of the victims will be receiving compensation, and the region of Murmansk, which is where the flight was actually going when it crash landed, also has now declared 3 days of mourning. And the people that I just spoke to outside of Belaruski rail station, which is where airplane express trains take off to go to Sheremetyevo, said that they were hugely shocked. Some people even said they were kind of scared to fly now. And of course, this has also been a hugely emotional discussion on social media as well, Amrita.
And Emily, are questions being asked about the safety of the Sukhoi Superjet? And there have been technical problems with this plane before, haven't there?
Yes, absolutely. There have been, and according to Russian media reports today, there have been as many as 8 technical issues and accidents in the past year alone involving that specific plane. But what you have to understand is that this plane is kind of political. It was the first new civilian aircraft that was launched in 2011, the first new civilian aircraft launched after the Soviet Union. The Russian government has even been subsidizing the sale of these planes, but it hasn't been a very popular model among airlines, even among Russian airlines, in part to do with the fact that there have been some technical issues. Now, we don't know, of course, at this point whether this accident has to do with the plane, but it's clear that this will be a huge blow to the reputation of the Superjet, the Sukhoi Superjet 100, and also to air traffic and the aviation industry in Russia on the whole.
Emily Sherwin in DW's Moscow bureau, thank you so much for that.